Straight away, we dive into what we are supposed to do today. Now, somebody here, if you are actually working in the field of data, you'd have different sets of data from different sources. And the implication of this is that you'd be making reference to different sources of data as you work on a single data set or as you work on a single sheet. And Excel really gives us a very, very good structure of this data analytics and how you're able to use it. I mean, how are you able to connect your data? Okay. So to be able to connect your data, in order for you to create what we can call a database, for you to create what we can call what here, a database, then this feature of Power Pivot in Microsoft Excel really gives you a very, very good platform where you can be able to create the database that we are. So I will jump over to Excel. Now, this particular data that we have here, you realize that, well, what we have here is just a single Excel worksheet, which we have here. But in many cases, probably you may be having different Excel worksheets containing different data that you want to use in a single sheet. So the question is, how will you use these different data sets in one sheet? That would be the main question. How will you use these different data sheets or these different data sets which exist probably in different sheets together? Now, if you look at this data, we have got this first sheet here called salary brackets. We have got the transactions sheet. And then, of course, in the other sheet, we have got what we call the employee details. So this other sheet here has got employee details. Here we have transactions, and here we have salary brackets. So what I want you to note from this data set, is one thing. If you look here, look at this. From the salary brackets, what do you notice we have here? We have got the employee level. And you realize here that employees exist here at different levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. Then let's look at the employee details. Once again, if you come to employee details, we have level here, which we have got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Of course, there's no level 5 here. So these are related columns. So you'll realize that this sheet here, known as the employee, to some way, it is related to the salary bracket sheet because of the existence of this, the employee level here. Then if you come to the transaction sheet here, here you'll realize that we have here what? Staff ID. We have got the staff ID column. Where else do we find staff ID? We find the staff ID in the employee sheet. So both the employee sheet and the transaction sheet are related in a way that we have got staff ID in both sheets. So in some way, the data is related. In some way, our data exists in different sheets, but they are what? But they are related. Now, the question is, you want to put this data together and be able to work with it. Well, we know that through some concepts like Power Query, you can merge these three sheets that we have here. Many of you, I know what you will do. If you want to merge this data together, of course, you will come to the transactions here, of course, copy all the information that you have here, come to the salary brackets, and then what do you do here? You paste. Somebody is well, come to the employee data here, copy the information from here, then go back to wherever you want to put, and then you do what? You paste it there. That's a very poor strategy of data analytics. No data analyst to do that. If somebody has attended my Excel class, I believe those people knows what I'm talking about, and nobody will do that. Somebody who has been in my Excel class will not do that. You know very well that there are different ways that you can use to put data together in a very, very, I mean, a very neat way, a very beautiful way, a very handsome way. You know, you cannot take a big chair and put on top of a small chair and then you expect it to support it. No, no, no. You need to learn these things. So the concept of Power Query will help you to put this data together. But then look, this time around, you don't want to put them together. I mean, you want them to exist in different sheets. You want to maintain the salary bracket sheet. These are records that you keep within your organization. So you don't want to merge this with this and this. But what do you want to do here? I know you like shortcuts. You want to work with them together. What you need is that if you are on this sheet, you can be able to use what here? You can be able to use data from transactions, from salary brackets, and from employee without doing what? Without necessarily going to that particular what? Going to that particular sheet. How are you going to do that? Let's explore Power Pivot. Now, Power Pivot, ladies and gentlemen, this is a feature that is in Excel from version, I believe, 2013 coming onwards, I think so. but probably some slightly later version may also have Power Pivot. So Power Pivot is a very, very strong feature here that will help you to handle multiple Excel files, like what you can see here. You can handle multiple Excel files. You can be able to create relationships between datasets. You can create relationships within dataset. You can work with much larger datasets and also be able to make pivot tables from multiple tables. What do you know about pivot tables? Well, this is a visualization feature, or this is a visualization tool. And you know that when you are using Microsoft Excel, then you can only use pivot table with only one dataset. You cannot use more than one dataset to create a pivot table. But let me show you today, it's possible for you to create pivot tables using different datasheets. Look at this. You want to create a pivot table of years of experience against what here? Against sales. Just an example, all right? You want to create a pivot table of years of experience against sales. Is that possible? That's very possible. But I know that with the normal way of creating pivot tables that you won't be able to do that. Why? Sales is in a different sheet from what? From years of experience. So they exist in different tables. As a result of that, you won't be able to do that. But let me show you what to do. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is to, first of all, install Power Pivot. So if you look from the menu bar here, you should be able to have Power Pivot. Of course, apologies to those who maybe haven't interacted with Excel before. I won't be able to go through the process of maybe doing an introduction to Excel interface today, but at least I believe you'll be able to catch up through my screen. So if you will enroll for our course, of course, you'll get the basics of Excel. Now, for you to install Power Pivot, note that Power Pivot is an add-in feature in Microsoft Excel. So what do you need to do here? Move over to File, move over to File, move over to File, More, then Options. Then from here, I told you that Excel is a what? Excel is not Excel, but Power Pivot here is an add-in. Power Pivot is an add-in. So what do you do here? Move over to add-ins. Then what here? Add-ins. Add-ins. Then here, from here, what do we have? From here, what do we have here? From here, what do we have? We are looking for what here? We are looking for Power Pivot. So over here, you can see Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel, and you can see that it is a COM add-in. Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel, you can see it's a COM add-in. So what I'm going to do here, under Manage, I believe somebody can see this, Manage over here, Manage. So under Manage, I'm going to select COM add-ins. Under Manage, I'm going to select COM add-ins. So I'm going to click on COM add-ins. COM add-ins. Then once I click on COM add-ins, I'm going to be able to click on Go. When I do that from here, you can go to see here that we have Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. So I'm going to check on this box here for Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. I'm going to check on the box for Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. Once done, I will click OK. I will click OK. I will click OK, and good. Over here, you can see I have Power Pivot. I have Power Pivot over here. I have my Power Pivot over here. Congratulations. So after installation of Power Pivot, so you now have Power Pivot in Excel. Now, what do I want you to do? Of course, I believe somebody knows where you have stored your data. You know where you have kept your data, whether it is in your downloads, whether it is on your desktop, whether it is in your documents, or whichever folder that you have stored your data. So I want you to close this data, of course, Power Pivot data, and be able to open a new Excel worksheet. Open a new Excel worksheet. So how do you open Excel worksheet? I know somebody is going to start, coming here searching for Excel. No, don't do that. Don't do that. If you are still here, hold on Control, then N. Control, then N. Control N. Control N. You'll open a worksheet. Then once you open a new worksheet, come and close the other data. Come and close the other data. Good. So from here now, we now want to use the concept of Power Pivot to be able to link or create what we call a connection between different sheets that we have in our data, and be able to link our data set so that we can be able to work with our data from whichever sheet that we will be in. So what do you do here? What do you do here? Of course, if you're moving here, move over to Power Pivot, move over to Power Pivot, move to Power Pivot, move to Power Pivot. That's the Power Pivot tab. Then here, what are we going to do? Of course, we want to create a new connection. We don't have any other connection. We want to create a new data model. You want to create a new data model. So what do? Come and click on Manage. come and click on manage over here, power pivot, then manage, power pivot, and then manage. We want to create a connection. And where is our connection? You can see here that from this power pivot window here, you can get external data from a database. What are these databases? You could be using an SQL database. You could be using an SQL server. You could be using Microsoft Access as your database. You may be using other services. There are so many databases that you can have. Talk about Microsoft Azure. That is the cloud service by Microsoft, and other platforms that you may have. So you can actually get data from those different sources. You can get it from data service, like the data feed. Other sources can use existing connections here. But what do we want to do in this case? We want to create, or rather, you want to get external data from other sources. So click on what here? Other sources. From other sources. Here, get external data. Then from other sources, click from other sources. Click from other sources. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it leads you to this window here. You can get data from SQL Server, SQL Azure, Microsoft Analytics Platform, Microsoft Access, from Oracle, from Sybase, and many other platforms where you can get data, even from a text file. You can extract data into it. So for now, it happens that our data is already in what? In Excel. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to choose Excel file. So get data from other sources. Then I scroll down. Then I choose Excel file. I'm going to be able to say here what here? Next. I'm going to be able to say next. Then Excel file path. If you have the file path defined, you're going to create it here, but not. You say browse. So from here, you should be able to remember where you saved your data. You should be able to remember where you kept your data. You should be able to remember here where you kept your data. Of course, mine is on my desktop. So I'm going to move over to my desktop. Then I choose on Power Pivot Data. This is it. Power Pivot Data, Power Pivot Data. So I'm going to choose this Power Pivot Data here. Then I do what? I say open. Then once I do that, you should be able to check on this option. You should be able to check on this option here. Use first row as column headers. Use first row as column headers. Ensure that you check on this option. Use first row as column headers. This is simply instructing Excel that your first row contains the titles of your data. So it shouldn't read it as what? It shouldn't read it maybe as your data set. So it should use it as what? As the title. So once you're done, hit on next. All right. So you get to this window. After hitting on next, you get to this window. You get to this window. Then, of course, from here now, you can be able to see that, well, your sheet had 3 data sets. What were that? Well, I mean, what was that? Employees sheet, salary bracket sheet, and transactions. You can't be able to see everything here. You can't be able to see everything here. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to select all of them because I want to use all of them. So I'm going to select all the 3 data sources. I'm going to select all the 3 sheets. I'm going to select all the 3 sheets. Then once done, I'm going to click on what here? I'm going to click on finish. And now you can see here that we have got the employee sheet. We have got the salary brackets. And what do we have here? We also have the transactions. So we have our transactions. So we have the 3 of, first of all, do what we call creating a connection, creating a connection, creating a connection. That is the very first thing that we are going to do, to create a connection. And how do we create a connection here? To create a connection, first of all, move over here to this thing that we call diagram view. From your Power Pivot, of course, I believe we are all here, and you can see diagram view here. You can see diagram view here. So please click on diagram view. Click on diagram view. Click on diagram view. Now, what do you want to do here? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, from my very first time, there is something that I mentioned. And I mentioned here that there are common columns that we have in this data set. If you look at here, we have got employee, here we have staff ID. To the far end, we have transactions, here we have staff ID. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 things are related. These 2 variables are what? Are related. So what do we do here? We first of all create a connection for that. The staff ID in the transactions is related to the staff ID in employee. They are one and the same thing. So what are you going to do here? We are going to create a connection for the data set. So what do we do here? Ladies and gentlemen, move with me from the transactions diagram here. From the transactions diagram here, click on staff ID and hold on. Click on staff ID and hold on. Then, of course, drag it. Just drag it all the way to this other staff ID on the employee sheet. Click and hold on. All right, I left it at some point. Let me get back. Sorry, let me get back. Click on this staff ID and hold on. Drag it all the way to this staff ID on the employee sheet. Ukifika hapo, wachilia namna hiyo. Very good. So from there, we've been able to create a connection between staff ID and staff ID. I want you to note something. I want you to note something. Look at this. Look at your arrow. Look at your arrow. Look at your arrow and what your arrow says. Allow me just to push this downward so that you can see. Very good. Now, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. To asterisk. Look at the direction of your arrow. 1 to asterisk. What does that mean? That means, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you interpret this, that you have created a connection of one to many. What does that mean when I talk about one to many? It means that one staff ID, who is an employee, can result to what here? Multiple transactions. So there can be multiple transactions from where? From one staff ID. That's why we have one to many. Very good. I hope we are moving together. I hope that we are moving very much together. So let me just get it back. Let me get it back there. All right, very good. Now, the second case here, you will also remember we talked about the employee level. Look at the salary brackets. So we have been able to link these two sheets. Just by that one single item, we have been able to link the two sheets. Secondly, look at this. Salary brackets. We have employee level. Then from employee, we have got what here? Level. Once again, we say that these are one and the same thing. We say that these are what? These are one and the same thing. So once again here, what we are going to do here once again is to link our employee level to the what here? To the level that we have here, because they are one and the same. So what do? Click on employee level and hold on, then drag it all the way to level because they are the same. So create that connection. 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 Very good. Once again here, we have a connection of one to many. We have a connection of one to many. Let me just do something here a little bit so that you can see it well. Very good. So over here, we have a connection of one to many. We have here a connection of one to many. And what you'll realize that if you place your cursor on this particular line here connecting the two, then you can be able to see the connection that you have done being highlighted. You can see from my employee level is being highlighted, from salary brackets, employee level is being highlighted. If I place it here, staff ID and staff ID are being highlighted. So those are the two connections that you have created. So once again here, what is this? One employee level from the salary brackets can have many employees. So one employee level can have many employees. Of course, you remember we have got employee levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that. So they can have many of them. Very good. So what have we done, ladies and gentlemen? We have created a connection between the three. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all that you need. Nothing more. That's all that you need to create a connection between different data sets. Even if your data were on different worksheets, that's the only thing that you need to create the connection. Now, once you have created the two connections, then what do you do now? Let's now exit the diagram view and get back to data view. So click on data view. Click on data view. Click on data view. Here we have diagram view and then we have data view. So click on data view. Click on data view. Very good. Now that takes us back to our what? It takes us back to our data set. It takes us back to our data set. Now, from our data set here now, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here, what you now have, we can now be able to work with our data set. So let's say, for instance, before uploading our data, maybe there are some cleaning tasks that you wanted to perform. What are these? Maybe, for instance, here, you can see we have got sales price and here we have cost. Sisters, say maybe you want to compute here profit. So we want to see each customer and, of course, each salesperson, how much profit have they brought to us? So on this place here, written add column, we're just going to say here that we want to get a profit. And of course, how do you get profit? We get profit by taking the sales price minus the cost. So any sales price, we subtract the cost. So I'm going to say here equals. Of course, you won't see it typing here, but if you check from your formula bar, you can see it there. So equals, I'm going to click on my sales price here. Of course, the first one, sales price. Then I do what? I type minus sales cost. I click on the sales cost equals sales price minus sales cost. Then once I'm done, I'll be able to hit enter. I'll be able to hit enter here. Once I'm done, I'll be able to hit enter. Then of course, when you see when you hit on enter, you can see that what has happened. All the items have been all the profits have been computed. All profits here have been computed. All profits here have been what? Have been computed. You can see all profits have been computed here. So here are what? Here are the profits. Here are the profits. So this column which says calculated column 1, you can just double click to rename it to rename it profits. Double click that to rename it profits. Double click that to rename it profits instead of calculated column 1. So double click and then you rename it as what here? As profits. Double click and then you rename it as what? As profits. Double click and then you rename it as profits. Double click and then rename it as what here? As profits. As profits. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. I want us to do something here. Remember, what we have done right now is that the entire process that we have done of linking our datasets leads us to having one dataset that is connected. So what's happening here? It means that we can work with these datasets. Look at this. I'm currently on my transactions sheet. From my transactions sheet here, I can be able to work with what? I can be able to work with both sheets, the salary bracket and the employee sheet, without necessarily going there. Now look at this. Suppose I want to extract the employee name. I want to extract the employee name. Of course, if you look at this, this is what here. This is the employee code or the staff ID. This is the staff ID. This column here is the staff ID. So from the staff ID, I want to extract employee name. These sheets have been related, so don't mind, don't worry. Everything you can do anything, all right? You can do anything here. So what am I going to do here? Because I have the staff ID over here, I can be able to easily extract my what? My staff name, so that I see who sold to this particular customer, Jacqueline. Who sold to this particular customer, Chris? Who sold to this particular customer, Take? That's what I want to do here. So what will I do here, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to use a particular function here. Of course, I will add a new column. So where it's written add column, once again, in the next row, I'm going to type equals. Then what we want to do is that we want to use related sheets here. So what do you do here? Use the related function in Excel. So equals related equals related equals related equals related equals related equals related. Of course, you can see it here, related. So just double click on it to make it active. Yes, alright, you will get the recording. Don't worry, you'll get the recording. You'll get the recording. So equals related equals related. So once it's there, you can hit on tab or you can simply double click on related. Then now look at this. Where do we want to get this related field? Remember that this related field here is where is in the employee. We need the employee name. We need the employee name. So where is the employee name? The employee name is in the employee sheet. Get me clear. The employee name that we need here is in the employee sheet. If you check here, ladies and gentlemen, you can't be able to see all the sheets that we have in all these data sets. Here is the salary bracket sheet with the related stuff there. And you also have got the employee sheet with the related stuff there. So what do we need? We need the name of the employee. Over here, you can see employee name. The moment you type equals related, you can see employee name here. So double click on employee name. Double click on employee name. So that's what we need. Then what do you do here? Now close the bracket. Close that bracket. Close that bracket. Then once you're done, hit on enter. Once you're done, hit on enter. Let's make an assumption here. You now want to create a visualization of this. But before you create a visualization of this, one good thing with Power Pivot that I'm forgetting to mention, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that you can be able to measure KPIs from here? I don't know if I'm speaking the same language with some people here. You can create measures here that can be able to help you to measure your KPIs very well for your employees. Here, for example, you want to see which employee has reached a target. You set a target of profits for each and every employee. So you want to see which employee has reached their target profit. In that instance, ladies and gentlemen, you will need to create what we call a measure. Ladies and gentlemen, here you will need to create what we call a measure. So how do you create that measure? Let's just create one measure here for this example, and the measure is going to be for our what? For our profit. So please move with me. It should be down here. So in this particular column here, let's create the measure. Let's create the measure. And the measure that we want to use is the total profit. I hope we are together. We want to use a measure of total profit. So what am I going to do here? From here, of course, to get the total profit here, I have my profits here. I have my profits here. So what do I need to do? I just need to sum them up. Okay? I just need to add them. I just need to add them. I just need to add my profits. I just need to add my profits. I just need to add my profits. So how am I going to add my profits? How am I going to add my profits? How am I going to add my profits? So to add my profits over here, I'll go to say equals. I'll go to say equals. Remember, everything is reflecting up here. So I'll go to say equals sum, equals sum, equals sum, equals sum. To add is basically using the sum function. Then what do I need to add? I want to add my profits. And over here, you can see profits. You can see profits here. This is interesting. I like this. You can see profits here. So just double click on profits. Double click on profits because that's what I want to add. Double click on profits. Then once you're done, close that bracket, then hit on enter. Close that bracket and do what? Hit on enter. Close that bracket and hit on enter. When you hit on enter down here, you can see something like measure one. All right, don't worry about that because our column is a little bit fixed, so we can enlarge our column. Okay, we can enlarge our column a little bit. Good. So you can see here that we have total profit of 26,702 0.4. Of course, we can be able to change this measure one to call it maybe total profit. To give it a good name, we can call it total profit. Total profit. Total profit. Very good. Total profit. Total profit. Total profit. So we have a total profit of this 2,600,000. Oh, no. This is not 2 million. This 267,000. This 267,020.4. This 267,020.4. So that's our total profit. Now, from here, this is like a measure which I have created that is going to help me measure the KPIs that I'm talking to you about here. All right. So what do I do here? I'm just straight away going to create a pivot table. Straight away, I'm going to create a pivot table. So over here, you can see pivot table. Over here, you can see pivot table. Pivot table. So click on this pivot table. Click on pivot table. Click on pivot table. Of course, it asks you, where do you want to place your pivot table? Do you want to place it in a new worksheet or do you want to place it in an existing worksheet? All right, if you want to place in a new worksheet, well and good. Existing worksheet, well and good. So mine, I'd want to place it in an existing worksheet. So I'm going to click on existing worksheet. Then I'll be able to say, okay, I will click on existing worksheet. Then I say, okay. Something is interesting here. I don't know if there's somebody who has realized what is here. Look at this. In the normal way of creating a pivot table, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, you cannot use multiple sheets in the same pivot table. Excel will only allow you to use one worksheet or one sheet. But look at what is happening here. Excel is allowing us to use many sheets. Look at this. I have the employee sheet. I have the salary bracket sheets. And what else do I have here? I have got the transactions sheet. Nice. The transactions sheet, salary bracket sheet, and the employee sheet. Very good. Now let's make an assumption here, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to see how much profit has each employee contributed. All right. How much profits has each employee contributed, for example? That's what I want to see. So where is the employee? It is in the employee sheet here. So if you check from the employee sheet here, you can be able to enlarge this and of course be able to see the details from the employee sheet. So just hit on this. There's this small arrow here. Just hit on it. Then what do I need here? I need to see, of course, the contribution of each employee towards what? Towards the profit. So what do? I will have the employee name. I will have the employee name. This is the first thing that I will select. So I will take the name, put it where? In the rows. I will take the name and put it in the rows. Of course, please, you will really forgive me. I will not also be able to explain how we place values in these different pivot table areas. Not that we don't just use these pivot table areas, the areas that you're seeing here, the filters, columns, values, and rows. We don't just use them. There is a way in which they are supposed to be used. You only use them if you want to perform the relevant functionality. Maybe in another session, we will be able to explain that later on. Now, take your name here and drag it to rows. Take your name and drag it to rows. So that is from where? That is from employee. Look at this. The employees' names are already from the other side. What do I need? I want to see the total profit by each employee. Great. I'm just going to minimize this for employee because I'm done with it. Where is the profits? Profits is in the transactions sheet. So what will I do? I will move over here to transactions. So I'm going to enlarge transactions. Then over here, you can see profits. You can see profits here. Not total profit, but profits. Profits. So I'm going to pick profits. Then where do I take it? I take it to values. Pick on profits, then drag it over to values. Pick on profit, then drag it over to values. Nice. Nice. And here, you can now see how your different employees have generated their profits. So these are now the total profits per employee. And over here, if you check on this data, you will realize that Anne is really performing good. So Anne is actually the top employee who has brought many or much profit. And then followed by, who is this? This is Gordon's, who has brought a profit of 64,280.75 euros. Anne has a profit of 77,829 euros. All right. So they're really performing good. So maybe you might just be tempted to measure them probably in terms of some other characteristics. Like for instance, maybe, all right, this Anne that has made a lot of profit. Remember that we had years of experience in our data set. You may want to see how many years of experience do this Anne have. All right. So maybe you want to do again a classification based on what here? Based on years of experience. But where is years of experience? It is not in the transactions sheet. You close this. Where is it? I hope it's in the employee sheet. Let's check. No, it's not in employee sheet. It must be in the salary bracket sheet. So let me just close the employee sheet. Then I go to the salary bracket sheet. Yeah, good. Here I have years of experience. Here I have years of experience. So I want to see how many years of experience do these different employees have that contributes to their different sales. So I will take my years of experience. Then where do I put it? I drag it to columns. Years of experience, I will drag it to columns. Years of experience, I will drag it to columns. Oops, look at this. And becomes the top employee having 0 years of experience. This is nice. Maybe Anne needs some promotion. With 0 years of experience, Anne has got 77,829 profit that he has generated to the company. Then, of course, he was followed closely by Gordon's, who has 6 years of experience. So Anne has been able to defeat all these people, including Gordon, who has 6 years of work experience. I think this is really nice. This is nice, and Anne maybe needs some maybe a lot of commission here, or maybe just something to motivate the employee. It's important that you motivate your employees. So just drag the years of experience out because we don't need it anyway. So just drag it out. So just click and hold on it, and then you drag it out to anywhere. It will automatically disappear. Now let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see who are performing good here, who are maybe better, and maybe how are the employees doing, who is maybe crossing the line and all that. So how do you do that? Remember, you established a KPI here. You established a KPI. So that is what you are going to use. So over here, if you are on your Power Pivot tab, over here you can see KPIs. Of course, we did some measures here that we created. So I'm just going to move over here to KPI. Then I will say new KPI. New KPI. So click on what here? Click on new KPI. Click on new KPI. New KPI. New KPI. New KPI. Of course, it asks you here KPI base field. Of course, this is where you're making your foundation for your KPI, and we only created one measure here. So even if you click on the drop down, we only have total profit as our base. That's the only measure that we created. So if you're creating a KPI maybe based on different measures, then you'll be able to clearly indicate that. But for now, we only have the total profit. So define target value. Do you want it to be an absolute value, or maybe you want it to be maybe in another format of numbers. So I don't want it to be absolute. And maybe let's say that we have set here a target for our employees. So my absolute value currently is 100. So I'm just going to change this. And if we have set a target for our employees, maybe let's say, for instance, we've set a target of 30,000. So let's say that 30,000 is our target. So I'm going to type here 30,000. I will set my target here to 30,000. I will set my target to 30,000. So that is the target that each and every employee has to meet. So once you do that, once you type 30,000, just hit on enter. Hit on enter once you tap 30,000. And of course, here you can be able to see how this is behaving. You can be able to see how this is behaving. So you can see that somebody with 12,000 will be on the red scale. All right. Somebody with 24,000 will be on the yellow scale. I mean, doing a little bit better. And of course, if you have surpassed your target, you'll be on this green here. Then, I mean, if you have reached your target, you will be on this green line here. Then, of course, if you have surpassed, you will be on the dark green one. I don't know if it's dark green. I'm not so good in colors, but maybe something of a sort, the dark green color. So something of a sort. Of course, you can drag these ones. If you need to extend the red, maybe you feel like 12,000 is too low. So somebody who is doing worse, maybe you want them to be at 15,000. You drag this all over to 15,000. All right, there is 15,000. That's 14,900. 15,000 is there. So up to 15,000, that's somebody who will be on a red. And then maybe the yellow, if you want to, maybe here we have got 24,000. Maybe you want to extend the yellow maybe to about 25,000. You can put it to 25,000. So just drag that, and then you put it at that particular point. Then of course here the target is at green. Then somebody who has surpassed their target will be having that particular color. So we're just setting our KPIs here. So let's say maybe you want to use any of these signs. You may decide to use this. You may decide to use this, the traffic lights, this or this other one. Maybe we just want to use this simple one here. So I'm just going to select on this. Once I'm done, I'll be able to click OK here. Once I'm done, then I will be able to click OK. I will be able to click OK. Right, so when you click OK here, you can be able to see that you have total profits here. So what do I do here? Just to make my data nice here, I will remove everything. So what I will leave is only the name. So from the columns, remove the values from the columns, just drag it out to anywhere. So you will retain the names only. So let's see what's going to happen here. Let's now take profits to values, not total profit, but profits. Profits, where are my profits? Profits should be on the transactions sheet. Remember, it is in the transactions sheet. So from transactions, pick profits, then put it over to values. Pick profits, and then put it over to values. Profits, take it over to values. Then, of course, here you can see the sum of profits, right? Maybe that's not what you are interested in. So we just want to see based on the KPIs, okay? We want to see it based on the KPIs. So, of course, our KPIs here. If you look here, there's something new that has been introduced here. I hope you're together. The total profit. So click on it again. Then, of course, we can be able to select all of them here like this. I'll be able to select the goal. I'll also select the status. I will also select the status. Right, then I don't want the total profit, so I'm just going to remain with the status alone so that I have my data appearing well. So I'll remove the goal and also remove the value total, so that is what I have. All right, so you can be able to see the performance here. So these are our KPIs here, indicating how our different employees are performing. So we don't have an employee that is worse off, because you can see the first employee here who is not performing so good is Matthew, whose total profit that he generated is highlighted at yellow. Then, of course, the other persons did what? The other persons maybe passed their target. The other persons passed their target, and they're actually on the green line. They are on the green line. So that's how you can be able to use that maybe to measure the KPIs and the performance of your different employees. And ladies and gentlemen, that will bring me to the end of today's presentation. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'd really wish to extend this. We'd really wish to proceed with this, but time doesn't allow us, ladies and gentlemen. There are many concepts that you need to know in Excel. One thing that I will leave you with, please go and do practice. Go and do practice. The secret to mastering Excel is practice. So make sure that you do your practice. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Happy to have you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.